Hey everybody,
Today we're going to talk about lighting options for when the power goes out.
and don't click away because there may be some lighting options and some different solutions here that you haven't seen before, so let's get right into it. Mary, we used to get these cheap flashlights. You drop them and the bulbs would break and that was it. So what have we got these days with LED lighting?
Rugged LED flashlights, and they're cheap and they're worth their weight in gold. And some of them want to have an SOS signal.
We've got we got a flashlight here we actually keep in our bedroom, and you can turn it on. I don't want to go right in the camera lens, and I'll click it, and this is actually, we call it an SOS signal. This has actually got a strobe on it, and you can use this. Let's say you've there's an elderly woman, the power's out, she's running around inside the house on her walker. Well, probably not running around.
No,
So
probably not.
walking slowly, and if she takes a tumble and she doesn't have any power, doesn't have any cell service, let's say a hurricane just blew through, she might be on her own for a while. So a little later on here, we're going to get into how she might be able to use this flashlight to signal for help. So you can have flashlights and other illumination devices that have an actual SOS signal, which is the long dash, short dash, long dash, or it can be a strobe like this, and it just attracts attention. So getting back to the elderly woman, one of the things you can do is if you have a walker or a cane, there's clip-on lighting. Let's talk about that, Mary.
Yes, there are clip-on lights that you can leave on your walker or your wheelchair, and then they can just be turned on when they're needed. So it gives somebody, like, if there's an unexpected power outage, and then it's the middle of the night, and you wake up and you've got to go to the bathroom, and now there's no lights, having that light on your walker can really save you.
Let's say you have a cane, and this is the mast of the cane. You can get lights that have a clip. They're a little smaller than this. You can just put it on, and then if the person needs it, they have it, and it can really be helpful. Now, again, let's go back to that lady who fell. She could take that light, she could aim it up to the ceiling, and let's assume it's all dark in the house. She could aim it at a street side window, and hopefully somebody might see that weird flash going on in the window and may knock on the door to investigate. Or if somebody called 911, she could have this thing running even straight up, and it'll just kind of flash in the room, and that'll look kind of weird as long as the light can come through the blinds or something at this house, and it just helps emergency personnel and other friends and family who might be able to come by.
So talk to your neighbors. If you're friends with your neighbors, and just talk about this kind of stuff. If you see me, even if the power is on, and you see in my house that this crazy flashing light, that means I need help. So please come. Please call somebody or do whatever.
And it's definitely a good thing to talk with your neighbors about, because community matters in a hurricane or any other kind of storm, because law enforcement, first responders, they aren't there like we are. We are right next door. We're a quarter mile down the road. We can drive the tractor down. We can drive the bulldozer down and do all this stuff before people can get to us. So we need to count on each other. And so many of you already know that. And we've been doing that for years with our neighbors. It's been great. Anyway, getting back into the flashlights here, what have you got there, Mary?
Okay, this is a nice big flashlight with a wrist strap so you won't drop it. And it has several different layers or different illumination levels. And it could also be used as a weapon.
It's LED powered, or I should say it's battery powered. It's got 6 AA batteries in it, and it does have an LED bulb inside. So again, it's if you drop it, you shouldn't have an issue with that bulb filament breaking. And Mary did bring up a good point. If you have some of the larger flashlights out there, you might remember the big mag lights that we used to have.
Right.
They do double as giving somebody a serious bump on the head if needed. So that's a good thing. With regard to table lights, we didn't bring one out here, but if you have a lantern or a table light, when you think about a Coleman lantern, that sort of thing, they make these LED versions now, and they can sit on the table. And you like to cook, so if you're cooking during an outage, you want to be able to see, right? So you'd probably have one in the kitchen.
Right.
I'd be out doing stuff in the garage having one. If people are playing cards or something, you could use it too, right?
Right, or just sitting down at the end of the day and catching your breath and having just that little bit of light just to make it comfortable. And you're not just sitting in total darkness. And the other thing about those lights is that you got your hands free. So you can wander around the house and still have your both hands free. Where when you're using a flashlight, one hand is taken up with the flashlight.
Right. Now, I like to use flashlights. I don't particularly care for lanterns. You see in movies and you see people holding them up. And what people don't realize is that lantern lights 360 degrees around and it's blinding your face. You can't really see. So when I use them, I go like this and I'm looking around. So I personally like the flashlights, but a lantern does have its place. If you want to do area lighting, or if you're doing some work, you can put it down on a table and you need both hands because, as Mary said, I am now down a hand. I have to hold the flashlight, so what can I do? Speaking of flashlight, this is a little Coast flashlight. It's a Coast G20. You can't really see it from here. And I use it as an inspection light in our business. And it shines a very focused light, and I can use it to check on fine components. It doesn't do a super job when you're up, aiming toward the ceiling or 10 feet away. But if you need to look at something real close, you're looking at your generator and you want to check on wiring or do whatever, these things are awesome. They're only, I think it was like $6 or $8. So we've got a few of them. We keep one in the bedroom. We keep a couple in the van. And this is what we use. They're fantastic.
All right, let's talk about these babies.
The headlamps. We've got a few headlamps that we use. And I've got my hat on backwards because, when you're trying to use these headlamps, at least the way I do it, I like to keep the hat on backwards so I can work. This particular model just turns on and it's got different colors. I won't go through that now because actually I forgot how to do all that stuff because I just use it like this. But if I'm up in an attic or I'm down in a basement or doing something, which is funny because we live in Florida, so it's been a long time since I've been in a basement. That's it. But this is a great way to do it. It's hands-free. You can adjust these things up or down. They're really fantastic. We used to do some hog hunting with our landscaper when we lived at our other house. And this is another type of headlamp. Again, this is from Amazon. It's called a Boruit, and the name doesn't matter. We'll put a link in the description below. But this light has a battery pack that can be charged. It's got a couple rechargeable batteries. And you can put it on your hat or on your head, and you've got high, low, and then green. And we used to use the green light when we were hunting hogs because hogs can't see that green spectrum like they can see the other lights. So you can be sneaking up on them doing what you do. You can be observing them, and they're not bothered by the light. But anyway, this isn't about hog hunting, and I'm certainly no hog hunting expert, but boy, our landscaper is. But these are the kinds of flashlights that you can have. I keep this one in the toolbox in the van. I keep this one over on the rack by the ladder, or the tool rack inside the van. So sometimes I need a bigger light, like I say, when I'm going to attics or this or that. But take these as options that you could really work with because these are wonderful, wonderful tools. Mary, what about night lights in a house? Night lights work when the power's on, but boom, the power goes out. What are the options there?
Okay, there's a bunch of different options. There's some that you can plug in and they will, when the power goes out, they automatically turn on. And then some of them you can actually pull it and use it as a flashlight. Night lights can really be helpful, especially if you're used to using them. Now we have night lights around the house.
Mm-hmm.
So to be plunged into darkness and not have those night lights, you could be stumbling around. And it's especially important for somebody who maybe is using a walker or a cane. To be stumbling around in the dark is really not a good thing.
Yeah, here's the night lights we like to use. These are just little photocell operated deals. Hopefully I've got it in the camera frame. The top can come off and it's just a little LED light. Well, they make these things that are rechargeable now. And again, you can get different versions that have kind of a clip-on flashlight. So it's a night light. And again, as Mary said, you can just pull a flashlight out. So that's another thing you can use there as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, some of them are motion censored and some of them are always on. So of course, the motion censored ones will hold their charge longer because they're not using as much energy.
Right.
But there's actually an incredible amount of options available.
Yeah, and the nice thing about LEDs is they don't suck the power like they used to. You're not going through a ton of batteries, and if you don't need your lights on at all times, then you can do really well. One of those things really helps when we get to outdoor lighting. We talked about outdoor motion sensor lighting. I think most people are familiar with the motion sensor setup, and then there are two or three lights, and they come on when a person or an animal comes by the house. there are solar options available too. We again went to Amazon and we bought this particular light. I'll turn this on. This is solar powered and it has a couple different modes on it. And what we did is we actually screwed this thing to our palm tree, just 2 screws. There's a bracket in the back here, and we just screwed it right to the palm. And then we had a little solar panel, and that solar panel slides right into the top of the light, and it just sits on the tree like this. So this thing charges during the day, and then I just tested it the other night where we walked around, and we mentioned this in another video, where you can walk out, boom, the light comes on, you get just a little extra light out there. And it really helps if you hear some noises, maybe a bear's walking by the property or somebody's walking by the property and you happen to be looking out. It's a safe way to put some light outside your house, and you can be on the other side of the screen or the other side of the window. But they come in all kinds of colors, intensities. You can get black, you can get white, you can get whatever color. They can go on your building, they can go on your landscaping. And you don't see it. You don't even know it's there. Right. But it works, and it's really a nice unit. So,
yeah, and the beauty of it being solar is that now when the power does go out and somebody's outside your door, yep, you can look out the window and see who it is and not be blinded.
Yep, and that really does help. It's a good idea to put a motion sensor like this, a solar-powered motion sensor, at every entry door, so that if you do go through a power outage, you've got lighting options already set up, and you will have forgotten about it, long forgotten about it, and all of a sudden the power goes out, and you go outside to walk your dog or do something, you've got lighting. What about landscape lighting? You know, those little landscape things you put along a sidewalk. What about that in the power outage? How
Yep.
can they be used?
And they can be great to help light the way if you have to take the dog out, and you don't want to. The other thing they're really good at is you can take them outside during the day and charge them up. Mm-hmm. And then bring them in the house for extra lighting during the night.
That's a good idea.
Oh, okay. Candles and oil lamps.
If you notice, we don't have any candles. We don't have any oil lamps here because we don't use them. We used to use them, but there's just too many instances where people have a problem, tip over a candle, tip over an oil lamp. Now, it doesn't always happen. If you like to use them and you're very good at it, and the kids in the house understand how to use candles and what they're supposed to do, that's cool. That's great. Again, we used to use them years ago when we were up north. Now we're down in Florida. We've just gotten away from candles and oil lamps, and we just use battery-powered devices, and we haven't had an issue. It's been great. Just remember, you're going to be very busy during a power outage. Maybe, you're cooking meals, checking on your kids, checking on your parents, whatever. It might slip your mind that you need to check on the candle in the living room. And if something slips or a pet comes by and here's a candle and a dog goes by and bang, bangs, knocks it over, you could have a fire. So that's something to consider. With regard to maintenance of these lights, it's easy to maintain a candle, put it out, cool it, put it away. Your oil lamp, just make sure it doesn't leak. But again, we said we're not using those. We're talking about the new technology, the LED and the battery technology. What do we have to watch out for with these things, Mary?
Okay, we have to open them up on occasion and make sure the battery is not corroding. And this is especially important for the batteries, this is especially important for the flashlights that you put away for storm prep. Not the ones that you have out every day, because you know whether they're working or not. But for the ones that you tuck away, take the batteries out, put them in a baggie, leave the batteries separate from the flashlight. And then when you go to deploy them, you check them and make sure that everything is operating the way it should be.
We had a neighbor who lived next to us a couple of years ago when we lived at our old house. And she's about 90 years old. And she said, "Hey, Dan, Mary, why don't you come on over and let's have a cup of coffee?" Actually, it was a glass of wine, but let's get together and can you please go through my lighting inventory? She had battery-operated fans, and they operated on D-cell batteries. She had a bunch of flashlights, a bunch of clip lights, and a bunch of little lanterns. And when we were done, I said, "When is the last time you had gone through this stuff?" And she said, "Oh, maybe 3-4 years ago." Well, you could tell because by the time we were done, she had to throw more than half of her stuff away. Mm-hmm. So it cost her a few $100 because she said, "Well, I'm going to get new lights and new flashlights and new batteries." we found that many times when we opened up batteries or we opened up some of the bigger flashlights she had never used this stuff, and the batteries just corroded and just ruined the inside, so the lights wouldn't even work even if you put new batteries in. So that's why Mary brought up that tip, where what we do is we put our batteries in a baggie. We'll put like AAA's batteries in a little prescription bottle or something. We keep them next to the flashlight in our emergency kit so that when we're ready, we know they're fresh, we know they're not corroded, we can just throw them in and go. I guess it's like a gun. Some people leave it unloaded and you throw the bullets in when you're ready. In our case, that's the way we look at it. Now, if you have firearms and they're next to your bed, you probably have it loaded. Well, this is a loaded flashlight. It's got a battery in it. But if it's something you're not using for a while, when we go back to flashlights or any other device, we find that it's best, especially in our humid climate here in Florida, keep the batteries out. So that makes a lot of sense. Moving into some of the things we talked about some of these rechargeable items. Mary, how do you recharge this stuff?
Well, that's when you want to have a portable power station. Not everybody's got the generator, especially if you're an older person, or you're just not a generator type mechanic. Then having a portable power station can really be helpful. Here comes one now.
I've got a Jackery in my hand. Mary and I have two of these Jackery units. You can use whatever you want, whether it's 4 Patriots or Champion lights or anything. This thing is a 2,000 watt unit. It costs a little less than $1,000. The first one we bought was over $2,000. So this is powered by lithium iron phosphate batteries, the new technology, and this thing's supposed to be good for like 4,000 charges. Our old Jackery, that's a couple years old, that we bought just after 2022's Hurricane Ian, that's a 2000 model, like a version 1, and that's powered by lithium ion batteries. And we're supposed to be able to get about 2,000 recharges out of that before it gets down to about 80% of capacity. So we have two of these. They really work out well. This one weighs nearly 40 pounds, so it may not be something that an elderly person might want in their home. But as you guys know, they make these things in all shapes and sizes. There are many different brands. They're available on Amazon. They're available direct from Jackery or direct from so many other manufacturers. And you can plug in cell phones. You can plug in digital devices. This one has 3 AC outlets, and you can plug in different things. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to run a toaster or something, it's going to burn this up pretty quick, or a toaster oven. But when you're recharging flashlights, if you got the rechargeable ones, you use your little USB ports, USB-A or USB-C, you've got a lot of charge time in here. So it's just something to consider. So hopefully we've given you some cool food for thought here on how to maintain yourself and what kind of lighting to use in power outages. Please check out our other videos. Check out our book on Amazon, Real Life Hurricane Prep. And Mary, is there anything else?
One more thing. If your Jackery is too heavy for somebody to handle, put it on a dolly, and then you can tie a rope to it and you can pull it. The invention of the wheel was magnificent.
That's a great idea. Y'all have a great afternoon. We'll see you in the next video.
Take care.